Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Sonia.
And welcome once again to Our Life, the show. And as you see by our setup, we're doing a little something different with this episode. So going forward, obviously we like to mix things up a lot on the show as it is. But whenever you see this setup, we're probably going to be doing something a little more of a podcast, I guess, type deal. So you guys could just sit back, relax, have a listen to us, enjoy the show. We'll see where it goes from here.
Enjoy the show?
Yeah. It won't be as edited as much either. I'm going to try to keep this as, consistent with when we're actually recording it. I'd actually probably like to do these live sometime, but we'll see how that goes. Anyway, for this first little experiment here, we're actually going to be talking about just anime in general. But man, I do have to say real quick, even though it's completely unrelated, I tried that new spicy pizza from Pizza Hut tonight. Hopefully I can make it through this little podcast, but man, that thing is not settling the best in my stomach right now, I can tell you that.
Did you take Tums?
No, I haven't, but...
I warned you.
I know you warned me. I had to try it for myself to see if it was even worth having. Honestly, like I said, I thought the sauce and everything was good. I think that whoever made it maybe did a little too heavy on the spicing, the red pepper flakes and all that, because there were certain bites of it that's like all you would taste.
I think it was either like basil or some other Italian topping.
Don't know why I wanted to talk about that. I just wanted to start this thing off with something that's a little more recent. Get things a little...
Conversation.
Get a little conversation going. Obviously, we're not used to this format of show as much, so we'll see what happens. But speaking of recent, we actually rewatched Princess Mononoke the other day, which, for me, was an anime movie that everybody obviously says Princess Mononoke is like one of the greatest Ghibli films ever made.
Yeah.
And for me personally, I wasn't able to understand that, mostly because I could never watch it without falling asleep, which is pretty bad, I know. I did the same thing with Lord of the Rings, which is why I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan at all.
Yeah. I watched like the first movie and I fell asleep with it, and the other ones I haven't really watched.
I couldn't... I read the book a little bit, and even the book got to a point where I was like, alright, it's pretty boring. I don't understand the appeal. I like fantasy stuff, obviously. I've read a lot of fantasy novels and things like that, and I understand, like, The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, all that stuff. It's part of, I guess, the history of fantasy novels and whatnot, but man, I don't know, just don't do it for me. I think it's very boring. It takes a long time to get to any point.
I'm like that with other things. Like, I don't really like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter. I've tried reading the books.
Now, Harry Potter, that's blasphemy.
I like the movies.
I mean, the first Harry Potter book picks up like right immediately.
No, it doesn't.
To me, it does. It picks up immediately in something that's intriguing, like, oh, there's an orphan dropped on a doorstep. Why do I want to know more about this orphan? Where, like, Lord of the Rings, using that as an example, is like, here's some hobbits.
They got hair and stuff.
But with that in mind, The Hobbit itself, the book that I think precedes Lord of the Rings, that actually started out with something that was intriguing, with all these people just dropping into Bilbo Baggins' little hovel. You know, why the hell am I talking about this? This is supposed to be the anime episode, where we talk about anime, and I don't know.
It's an open to the nerdiness. And people don't get why people watch... I can't talk. People have a fit about anime. People are like, oh, you're just watching cartoons, so...
I don't think that argument happens as much these days. I think...
There's still some.
There's definitely some. There's you got your Marvel nerds and superhero comics, American comics, that a lot of... Every time with the yawning.
It's nighttime.
I know it's nighttime. I wish we could record these earlier in the day. I really do. Although I have more energy at night than during the day, so... Where was I?
Talking about people not liking cartoons. Or
I don't know. I think that there is a divide between, like, manga fans and comic fans. And for somebody that's not interested in this kind of stuff, that might seem like the same thing, but the way stories are told in American comics and I guess other more traditional types of comics that people are used to, the structuring and the storytelling are different. In my opinion, it gets kind of repetitive in a lot of American comics because they rehash the same stuff over and over again. Not that manga doesn't do that. There are many Shonen Jump brands that are like that. Mm-hmm. So, but I don't know. There's definitely a little tribalism between fans bases saying like, oh, manga's just like perverted comics for weebs or whatever. And to me, I think American comics are... I never used to feel that way, but I do think they've gotten boring in a lot of aspects and very repetitive, or they rely on shock and veiled diversity to boost sales and stuff like that.
They've changed a lot of the storylines too.
But back to Princess Mononoke. So, yeah, we watched that the other day. To me, it felt like the first time because I didn't realize how much I didn't remember that film.
Well, I watched it once with you and your friend, and I did fall asleep during it. So, like, when I was rewatching it, I'm like, I don't remember this part.
Yeah, there was a lot I didn't remember. To be perfectly honest, because I did fall asleep during it, I didn't remember much of the overarching plot outside of it being basically a nature thing.
Spirits. Tree spirits.
Besides it being like that.
Yeah. Well, basically it was because they were digging up the forest for iron. And they're like, don't do that to our forest.
I don't know. Rewatching it, I definitely appreciate it more. I thought it was better than I remembered. But at the same time, there were definitely still parts where it felt like my attention span was waning. And that does fall on me a lot because I have a bad attention span.
Yeah, well, it is one of his longer movies. It could have been cut back a little bit.
Is it? I mean, I don't know how...
It's definitely almost 2 hours.
Well, yeah, but...
his movies are usually an hour, hour and a half tops. They don't go more than that.
I don't really know how long his runtime on a lot of his movies are.
Like, Kiki, I think, is only like an hour and 15.
I definitely have my Ghibli films. I mean, that's like... I don't know, I guess the pizza of the anime world because it's...
Pizza?
Yeah, bringing it back to pizza real quick. It's like the pizza of the anime world because it's like a comfort food, you know?
Yeah,
like, everybody can get into a lot of Ghibli films, but for me, I like Totoro, I like Ponyo, Spirited Away, and Prince Mononoke, obviously, I do like now. Yeah. But to be fair, I don't know, I feel like they're overrated in a lot of aspects. I don't think they're as good as a lot of people say they are.
Blasphemy! Totoro is the best.
But let's just say, like, the way he does his movies is, again, I guess kind of different from traditional storytelling. There's conflict, but in a lot of the more child-friendly films, the conflict's very understated and almost non-existent. With the exception of things like Ponyo, like I said, where... there actually was like, okay, the flooding, and then same thing with Spirited Away, sort of. There was a conflict that she had to get back to her family, you know, she had to revive them, whatever.
If she didn't remember what her family looked like, she'd have to be there forever.
But yeah, I don't know, like Arrietty, what the hell was that?
That movie, as we were discussing the other night, was too short, and once they were getting to a climax, that's when the movie ended. It was like, what? Why would you take that from us?
It wasn't a long movie, but even in that short span, I couldn't freaking pay attention to it because it was like, okay, what's the point? Get to it. I don't care.
A tiny family meeting big humans.
Yeah,
it was kind of like Thumbelina.
I think it was based on that, wasn't it?
What?
I think it was supposed to be based on something like that, wasn't it?
Spoiler alert, this kid has like a sickness, and they're like, oh, I might die. And, like, they show him moving, or they have to move because their house is going to get destroyed, and it ends. I'm like, so, did the kid die, or did he live? Like, it just ends.
Well, like as Sonya has proven, just a good point of bringing this up, as she's proven several times on our show and in this episode, her memory is considerably better than mine. Like, I know my attention span is a lot of it because I might not be diagnosed with anything like ADD, but I definitely have it. So I can barely remember a lot of things like that. Unless I watch it repetitively or it somehow caught my attention enough where I stayed there and focused through the whole thing.
Yeah, but I think we only watched Arrietty once, and I just remember it because it was so bad.
That's why, like, with Outlaw Star, I had seen all of Outlaw Star previously, and I still only remembered, like, maybe 25 to 30% of it until I watched it again. And I like Outlaw Star. I think it's a very interesting anime, so...
It's weird. I haven't watched all of it with you because you usually watch it when I'm not here.
So, if we take out the fact that, like, I know when you and me got together, you watched anime basically for the first time outside of Pokemon.
Okay. When we first got together, I had friends who watched it because they had, like, at our local library, they had, like, an anime club. A lot of places have done that. But my ex-boyfriend, he watched Bleach, and I can't remember the other one that he watched. But I watched it with him. We were on the phone, and they had it on Cartoon Network's, was it Adult Swim, or was it something else when it was anime?
When it was on Cartoon Network, it was technically Adult Swim, but they had, like, a Toonami block within Adult Swim.
Well, he liked... What was the guy, like Ichigo or whatever like that, and I was like, this is so weird. But again, I was watching it like mid-season or something like that, so I didn't know what was going on. I'm like, this is lame, but I was just making fun of him. But yeah, I watched Pokemon with my siblings and stuff before school in the morning, and yeah, that's about it, because I didn't watch any of the Studio Ghibli stuff except for Kiki.
So when you were... So what would be your first exposure to anime? Like you said, you didn't watch much of it.
My first exposure was Pokemon, because when it came out, I was only 7.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Because I remember you talking about that. But I don't know if, like, you ever caught things like, I don't know, Dragon Ball in passing, or...
I knew about it because all the boys liked it, and, like, Yu-Gi-Oh! And Digimon...
Digital monsters.
I think Magic, I don't think really happened until, like, later for, I know, it was more of your, like, generation. Well, it's been around since 83, but it was, like, late middle school, early high school is when, like, boys in my grade were actually playing it.
Well, Magic the Gathering is not related to anime, Sonya.
I'm mentioning just card games and stuff. Like, that's how I got exposed to it, because again, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an anime, but the card game made it bigger, even though it copied Magic the Gathering.
Sorry if the camera shifted there. My big ass keeps hitting this table. Man, yeah. I miss playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With people, as dumb as that is. I don't play that now, but it does remind me of my childhood, that and Pokemon. Pokemon, I still think, is a fun card game. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too, don't get me wrong, but I think Magic's better than Yu-Gi-Oh! And they very much borrow from each other.
Well, like, I knew Dragon Ball as in Dragon Ball. I didn't know, like, any of the characters' names or anything.
So, with me, my first exposure to anime, I mean, as people know, people that have watched this, or people that just know me in general, I am what they'd call the weeb type somewhat, I guess, where I'm into Japanese media and culture. I'm not so far into it that I have a waifu or anything like that, which I'm
your waifu.
Yeah, you're my real waifu. I don't understand that culture. We'll get into that maybe later, but when my first exposure to any sort of Japanese media was 100% through video games, and just video games in general. I mean, because I think I even played Final Fantasy and stuff like that before I ever watched anime regularly.
Well, Street Fighter 2 had a bunch of, like, Asian-inspired levels.
Yeah, and anime-esque designs. It was actually my sister, Michael. It was actually my sister, I think, that watched anything sort of anime-adjacent before I ever did, because she used to catch the very bad American dubs of Speed Racer and the original dub of Sailor Moon many years ago many years ago. Many years before I actually watched anime regularly. The first time I did was honestly Pokemon, I think. But after Pokemon, one of my friends introduced me to Dragon Ball Z. And I think I went from 0 to 80 with anime in a way, because where I started with DBZ and Pokemon, they're more... I mean, the uncensored version of Dragon Ball is probably not as kid-friendly, but they're more kid-friendly shows. And then, the next show I think I jumped off in was, something like Cowboy Bebop or something like that. Like, the late-night anime that would show on Adult Swim, like we were just talking about. Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, Inuyasha. Although I didn't care for Inuyasha or Rurouni Kenshin, which were also on at that time. I didn't watch them as much.
I wouldn't mind watching Inuyasha, but it's a long anime.
I mean, there's a lot of long anime, especially shonen anime, because I swear to God, there's things like Demon Slayer, I guess, have a good stop point, because a lot of shonen anime and manga really overstay their welcome by a long time. Mm-hmm. Like Dragon Ball, the first few arcs, if you will, of Dragon Ball that focused on Goku growing up and all that stuff. The actual original Dragon Ball up until Dragon Ball Z and the first few seasons of that was fine. And then they just kept repeating the formula, and they're still just repeating the formula today with Dragon Ball Super. And it's like, okay, how many times can you do the same shit?
It takes 5 episodes to beat an enemy.
It takes more than 5 episodes to beat an enemy. It takes 5 episodes just for them to go. So.
Mm-hmm.
So, why don't you tell the viewers what your first real anime was, viewers/listeners?
Who's gonna know this one? My first anime was Taco.
And for those that decided to actually watch this instead of listen to it, I'll try to have an image up there of this anime. It's one that I was aware of you watching and never watched myself. Even when
it's only 13 episodes.
Even I think you rewatched it because we eventually did get it on DVD, and I didn't watch it with you.
I don't think I finished it.
Well, I mean, that's an interesting starting point. What was your impression of it when you saw it?
All I could think of is the freaking music when it's like holiday. I don't know. The music got me at first, but it was. I like more of the darker anime. I do like the comedy a lot too. But we had Netflix, and this is when Netflix actually had a lot of anime on their thing, because...
Well, they technically do now, but...
Not as much. They've cut back.
A lot of it is their original series.
I don't count those.
But...
Well, the reason they took off a lot is because the Funimation and Crunchyroll and all that, but... yeah, that one, it was I think what drew me to it was, it's basically about, I wouldn't say zombies, but it's, the undead, weird creatures, and he joins his team to, help kill them and stuff like that, and it, the beginning of it, because it's kind of like Resident Evil, a virus or something happened, a meteor hit or something. I can't remember, because, like I said, it was, my first one to watch. But anyway, it was this kid was around it when it happened, and he lost his sister and his family, and he forgot about it until this girl helps him realize it because she was a neighbor or something of him. But it's only 13 episodes. It should have been longer because, again, with Japan, it ended with a cliffhanger. So it's where's the second season? Man, what happened?
I think a lot of that kind of stuff comes down to, obviously, the distributor of the anime, whoever it was airing it or whatever, ordered the episodes of the anime. And not just for Taco, but other...
There's a lot of anime that do it.
Yeah, other anime, like The Devil's Part-Timer, which is just getting its second season now. I think it took almost 10 years for that to even get a second season.
I don't know.
And I think part of it, I think, has to do with the anime studios wanting to wait for, the manga or light novel or whatever to catch up with where they are. And I think in other instances, it's they look at the ratings for that particular anime, and even if the story's not done, they're okay, we're pulling you off the air. Which happens to American shows, but they're usually given a little more heads up sometimes in American shows so they can rush to an ending. But
well, the thing about that too is just 2 examples that they made the anime too early before the manga was done. One of them was Full Metal. They only had like a few of the mangas done because that's why they have 2 series, Full Metal Alchemist and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which went with the manga more because it fills out the whole story. Where there's manga, whatever. Tomato.
Well, someone's gonna bitch about it, so.
Whatever. Well, that's why, like, the Full Metal Alchemist, it's complete, like, the first few episodes are, like, in the manga. But then it just goes off its own tangent and it completely changes everything. So, like, a few years later, they made Brotherhood when all the manga was done. And Fruits Basket. I just finished it, I think, last month. Watch the 2019 version first and then go back to the 2001 version. You'll thank me. Because the first one, I swear, maybe 10 volumes were done. They did the anime. Has, like, no story. And the new Fruits Basket, it's actually got a story. So watch that one first and then go to that one.
I'm one of the... I don't know if I'm in the minority here, but I don't hate the original Full Metal Alchemist anime. I actually wish there was a way to watch it online right now besides, streaming from questionable sites because...
We barely got the second series.
Brotherhood right now, I think Brotherhood's back on some streaming service right now. But the first series after Brotherhood came out was basically eradicated. And while I don't think it is as good as Brotherhood, there is elements of it that I like. I like the way the homunculuses were made in the original series. I actually thought made more sense.
Wasn't it? It's like whenever they tried to do the human...
transmutation, whatever they tried to transmute was what...
It became the homunculus.
Yeah. Which, to me, given where the series goes with that kind of idea, I think that made more sense than just one guy making it the homunculuses themselves off of the blood of one guy and basically making clones of himself.
No, it wasn't clones. It was just the 7 deadly sins of man.
Yeah, even so, it's just, I don't know, it's a longer explanation to get to the same point where I think the other one's just like, yeah, this is how it happens, and it makes sense because...
No, because their mother should be dead, not a homunculus. Spoiler.
But that also makes the fight a little more emotional for them, too, because there is that weird, like, oh, it's the mother thing.
It's already emotional.
It is. Don't get me wrong.
And it gives them more for Hohenheim.
Brotherhood is better by far, but there are ideas in that original anime
it makes no sense with Alphonse either. Because he, like, just appears and he's, like, wearing Ed's jacket. Huh?
Was that in the... Yeah, that was...
Or maybe it was the movie, I don't know, but...
The movie had that, I believe.
Well, it's still the finale
Conqueror of Shambhala. Oh,
no, not that.
Which one?
It's the one that actually ends the Full Metal Alchemist, like, series.
Yeah, that was Conqueror of Shambhala. The other one...
I think on a Milos or whatever.
Yeah, Secret of Milos. Or yeah, I don't remember the name of the other one either. But, oh, Jesus, that movie... I didn't mind the second movie, and I have that special connection with it, which is...
Going to theaters?
No, I was at Otakon, and they premiered... the English subtitled premiere of that movie was at that Otakon, and to me, it's not a big deal, but it just seemed kind of cool that I was like, oh, I get to see a movie premiere, something like that. Like a very exclusive small group of people that outside that room, up until it was released on DVD, were the only ones to see it in America. Yeah. So, but the Conqueror of Shambhala movie, Jesus Christ, what a clusterfuck. I don't know, there's a lot of bad anime movies, but that one just did some things that made no sense, like the alternate world they lived in with Mace Hughes being a Nazi. I mean, that alone is enough to say that's a fucking terrible movie, but...
I can barely remember it since we only watched it once, and I was just like, what the hell?
And if you can see there, this little symbol here, obviously I'm a big fan of Full Metal. It's probably one of my if not my favorite anime series and manga series somewhat. I can't say that completely because I haven't finished the manga, but so if you have a list for some reason.
I have like let's show it a little bit here. Whoops.
Probably showed some secrets too.
No, there's just stars. I was just trying to show like this whole page is filled. When I started this is when we started watching like anime. I wanted to write down all the anime and mangas I have read.
Manga.
But the mangas I didn't. I gave up because I read a lot from like our library and stuff. But this I don't think is my full anime list either. I think because I had this packed away because we moved around a lot. So I don't think this is the full list, but it's most of it. But
even that is, I just don't know anybody else that does that. I can, honest to God, not tell you the animes I've seen. Some of them I don't even remember I've seen.
There's so many animes that I was like, I want to see if there's like fandom or like, at the time I wanted to ask like my friends and everything that were really into anime, like, oh, have you seen this? Or do you have any anime that you have? And blah, blah, blah. So.
Yeah. So that's another question I kind of wanted to ask you in regards to anime and just the way things are presented in anime. Was there anything to you that once you started watching more of these series or reading more manga that just stuck out to you as like, this kind of shit wouldn't fly in America, or was exceedingly quirky, like something that was kind of odd to you when you first started reading or watching?
The backwards books, aka manga, that was about it. I didn't really think of that.
So, like the way they just casually have panty shots or whatever, and fan service just littered out throughout them never struck you as just very weird or odd?
I mean, it was weird, but I didn't think like, oh, that wouldn't fly in America or anything. I don't give
definitely wouldn't, but...
I don't give a fuck about America. I was just having a good time watching anime.
No, to me, I don't think anything, for me personally, I was like, thought it was overtly weird. Obviously, I was like, okay, there's obviously some cultural differences that come up a lot. But there were definitely things that I was like, okay, I hope somebody doesn't come in the room while I'm watching this right now. I
thought that every time.
Like,
my mom, like, every time I watch something, my mom would be like, what are you watching? I'm like, nothing!
Well, I believe I have the right anime, but me and my friends watching Steel Angel Kurumi up in my bedroom, because we had a bookstore near where we used to live that had anime DVDs for sale, but they were so weird. Like, such a weird selection. They weren't like, oh, here's some Dragon Ball, Naruto, and shit. It's like, no, here's some Steel Angel Kurumi, some Dirty Pair Flash, things like that. Stuff that was more, I guess, underground a bit. Excel Saga, another one. But going back to Steel Angel Kurumi, like, I was... Just one of the things in that stuck out to me is they added a jiggle counter in it for the, jiggles. Yeah, and I was like, man, hopefully my mom does not decide this is the time to come in. And then there was another one with said Dirty Pair Flash where there was like, there was a lot of fan service in that. Let's just put it that way. And the whole time, every episode, I'm like, make sure nobody's coming, So there was moments. I didn't care as much when I got older, obviously, but there were moments. So, going a mile a minute here, what would you say is your favorite anime/manga series? You can have one of each, if you can even think of one.
Holy crap.
I'll let you think on that.
I could probably do anime, but manga, that might be a little harder. That was a coffee pot.
Why does our coffee pot just make random noises?
It's a demon. Let me quickly look through this. I like a lot, like I said, I like a lot of the darker animes. Recently, I've been liking the, I guess they're called shoujo. Is that what it's called? The, like, romantic comedy, like, lovey-dovey
God
ones.
Damn it. If it wasn't so late, I'd know the word. This makes me seem like a fake anime fan. No, I'm just fucking tired.
I thought it was shoujo, though.
I think so. Shoujo's right.
Some of the ones that I just watched recently, because they're on Hulu, I just want to give a shout out to these, and then I'll say my favorite. This one is just 2021, I think, recently. Horimiya, I think that's how it's called.
Is that the Maid one?
No, that's Maid Sama. That one was like 2005. I think it's... I don't know.
There's no way that animation, that was not 2005. That had to be more recent.
No, it was like 2005, 2006.
Huh. Alright.
Go look it up!
Information at the bottom if we need to be corrected.
But Horimiya is the one where they have like... And they go to the same high school, but on the outside of school they have like well, not really. They say secret lives, but it's not. They just act different. Like this one guy, he has like tattoos and piercings, and he doesn't show that in school. And the other girl's like more abrasive outside of school. Another thing, but it's like it's like opposites attract, and they fall in love. Blah blah blah. Check it out; it's really good. It's 2021. Devil's Line. It's about like vampires. I know there's a lot of those. That
I watched only like the ass end of that, and it seems stupid to me. I don't know.
I liked it. The ending sucked, yes, but again, Japan and anime. The ending sucked, but it's an alright anime. And Charlotte was... I'm not gonna give anything away. Just freaking watch it. It's on Hulu if you have Hulu. It's a mind trip. It's good, but it was a mind trip. My favorite would probably have to be Mushishi is a top like 3. Black Butler. I know there's like 3 other like Black Butler, the original series. Second one's kind of and the Book of Circus I haven't watched. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I just watched that whole series recently again. And yeah, it's probably, and like the new Fruits Baskets was really good too. And I have like a lot, but I'll stop at those. Like those are a top 4.
I mean, without question, obviously Full Metal Alchemist I think is my favorite, just because it was a really well done story, which at the time, I guess, because I was kind of a lapsed anime fan, and when I came back into anime and stuff of that nature, everything kind of seemed a little scatterbrained, and I was like, yeah, I don't really care about it.
This was like, it's down low on there, but I think it was like the 4th or 5th anime you showed me. And like the 3rd or 4th episode, I'm like, why are you doing this to me?
It definitely, I think, ranks up there with probably one of the best overall stories told in anime. Mm-hmm. But that's my opinion. I know there's a lot more. And as far as manga, because I'm gonna... There's a little bit of difference here. I do enjoy the Junji Ito manga was really fun. I think it was a little hit and miss, but I think that the type of art style that are in a lot of horror mangas, I think lends itself better to that medium than in live action, where stuff, or not live action, but in anime where something could go by a lot quicker. Like, it's hard to describe. I'm sure somebody could probably word it better than me. But as far as what I'm doing right now, also, that's why I'm going to manga. I've read way more manga recently than I've watched anime, by far. I've been getting really into Demon Slayer, which is getting up there for me as one of my favorites. Still need to finish it, so don't spoil it down below, which I'm sure some of you will. Anyway.
I have to watch the first season. I watched the movie. The movie is good.
Yeah, that was cool watching the movie. And we watched it at a drive-in, too, which is something that is not very relevant in America anymore, I guess. So
I was surprised, but then I wasn't surprised because the town that was showing it off when I was in high school, they were, like, nerdy. And, like, our son was really, like, glued to it, too.
Probably for the worse, because it's not really a kid's movie, but...
It's not kid-friendly, but he loves it, and...
Yeah, he got into... I think he gets into the characters a lot more than anything else.
I just love how he says all the characters' names.
Yeah, hearing a little 3-year-old say, Inosuke,
Tanjiro,
Nezuko. Just very weird hearing it with the little voice.
Well, the funny thing is, when he sees pictures of them, or, like, their kimonos that they wear, he'll be like, oh, that's Tanjiro's jacket, I want to wear it. Or, like, oh, that's him. And I'm like, how do you know this?
I don't know if hearing that, like, anybody listening to this or whatever, if that'll make them think we're bad parents or the best parents in the world. But
oh my god, I forgot to sing that one. All right, Durarara. That one's
Rah.
Yeah, Durarara. I saw that on some weird website. I probably gave a virus to my mom's computer. I'm not sure, but it was awesome. I watched it on I don't even remember the website, but I watched it all on there. And then after they had it on, that I watched the whole thing on that website. I think they had it on Hulu or something. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, well, whatever. But that one's definitely top 5 too.
Yeah, it is on Hulu now because I think both seasons are on Hulu.
Yeah, but like, I think they had it might have not been on Netflix, but it was like shortly after I finished it on that website. I can't remember it. They had it on there. I'm like, are you effing serious?
I still want to read the light novels for that.
I only got 2.
Light novels aren't normally my thing, but I have read obviously the Full Metal ones because again I'm a nerd for that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Those actually weren't bad. The last one that I read was kind of because there's more short stories that sound more like fan fiction. Another though, which some people consider that a light novel, is fantastic. I think it's one of the best horror novels I've read. Yeah,
I gotta get back into it because it was. I stopped it when it was actually getting somewhere, but like I
think the issue with Another, as far as the book, without spoiling anything, is that it kind of starts out slow, and nothing really happens for a while, and it does
because it's trying to build up like the backstory basically,
and it does kind of give you the impression of like, oh, what's real and what's not, at least in terms of the characters in the beginning. But it does take a little bit of time to really get where the main focal point of the plot is.
Yeah, like I said, I stopped it when it was getting good, like an idiot, but it's like life happened and all that good stuff, but I will pick it up again eventually.
And I have the sequel also, another episode SO, or whatever the hell it's called, even though it's a book, it's called itself an episode.
No, I got it for you, that's all I know.
But that one is okay, it's not as good as the first one, but it definitely is faster paced, at least there's that. Shit, where the hell is I? Speaking of manga, The Drifting Classroom is another, if you're into horror manga, like I am, which is something that I do like to read a lot of them if I can, The Drifting Classroom is one hell of a trip. Also, it's one of the few forms of media I've ever seen that has kids getting brutally murdered. But
wasn't Another like that?
Well, technically, I mean, again, without spoiling too much, Another does have teenagers getting killed, I guess, but the kids in Drifting Classroom are like 10, maybe younger, so that's, I mean, I'm not saying that's a good thing or anything like that, but it's weird seeing anything actually do that, because usually I think in American movies, comics, or whatever else, kids are kind of off limits as far as anything brutal.
Yes and no. I mean, look at freaking Pet Sematary. That kid was 3.
The kid got killed, but it wasn't shown on screen. It was implied, I guess, if we're talking about the original Pet Sematary.
Yeah, the other one kind of showed it.
The only other thing up until Drifting Classroom where I've seen something like that was the original Prey on Xbox 360. Again, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but it takes balls, I guess, to go to that area. So for you, is there any... I'm just trying to touch on as many subjects as I can here, but is there any anime and manga that you've read and watched, like the combination of the two, where you'd say the anime was better? I'll field it real quick for myself while you think of it. I do think the Attack on Titan anime is a little bit better than the manga, just because I think that the scenes within it, the action scenes, are more lended to animation as opposed to still frame. I think that's that way for a lot of manga, honestly, because Dragon Ball, I really like the Dragon Ball manga, but I think that definitely lends itself better to an anime, again, because of the motion. You can get across emotion and action a lot better on a visual medium, an animated medium, than you could on a panel. Especially in black and white.
Oh, I did have an answer to this, but I can't remember. Hold on, I'm breaking shit.
We'll be right back.
Okay. I had it and then I forgot it, but I had it again. I think I have an omnibus of like the first Trigun series, and I think the anime was actually better than the manga. There's probably like other instances, like there is some things where I think the anime does better than the manga, but I can't remember all of them.
Yeah.
But Elfen Lied, that if you've ever seen the anime, read the manga, because man, it gets more brutal.
Yeah, I think I'll stick with my answer on that, but Trigun, I'm not certain, but I'm pretty sure that was an anime that was turned into a manga, when it's usually the reverse, manga turned into an anime. Mm-hmm. I think Cowboy Bebop did the same thing, because I think they only have like 2 volumes of that manga, which that story is definitely a lot longer than what could be contained in 2 volumes. So I guess, yeah, this would be our anime episode. It was just something we kind of wanted to talk about, something we kind of wanted to do, and quite frankly, I didn't know any other way to approach this other than doing it in this style. So, this style of show is obviously not going to be every week where we just do this, sit here, talk about stuff. I mean, that is basically what our show has been, but in this more podcasty style, this won't be obviously our frequent thing. And that starts next week, because we're going to be going back a bit in my past as we talk about something called Basement Bitches. Now, you guys need to tune in for that, alright? Because that one's going to get a little crazy. Anyway, any closing remarks you want to make?
Anime's awesome.
Weeb.
Well, I'm a weeb? No. Like I said, I was always around it, but I didn't really check it out until we were together because you had Netflix.
But yeah, I have nothing more to add to that. So let's just cut it off here. Have a good day. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. Another quick cut. It's fucking pizza, man.
If I smell it, I'm killing you.
Yeah.